goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada.
Hello, Wisconsin!
Hello, Wisconsin. Welcome to our second to last No Sour Haha Fun Time Power Hour, because on Monday, we're going to 2 hours, 10 to 12, instead of 11 to 2, which means, Paul Noonan, your time's changing when you're coming on this show. Are you okay with that?
Oh, yeah. Totally fine with that. Not a problem at all.
Not a problem at all. We love that kind of flexibility. Paul Noonan is back for a sports update this week. He covers the Packers for Shepherd Express and Acme Packing Company, and also hosts the weekly podcast Reporting as Eligible, which is on the Packers, and Milwaukee's Tailgate podcast on the Brewers. Except this week, last time you were here, we talked about how you don't really cover basketball, but we're still going to talk about Adrian Griffin, the new Milwaukee Bucks coach. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think we kind of have to. So I think he's a pretty good choice, given all the candidates that were out there. And I think the big thing that you're looking for moving on from Mike Budenholzer is that Budenholzer is, by all accounts, like a really good clubhouse guy, like really got everybody to play hard. But the NBA has changed so much that the regular season is much more of an afterthought. Like, stars get rested. People don't try that hard. It really is about making the playoffs, where you need a tactician. And Bud just wasn't the tactician you need for that. We don't know for sure that Griffin is, but he played under Nick Nurse. He's actually got some Bucks familiarity. He actually, the last team he officially played for was the Bucks. He was part of.
So he played for the Bucks. He wasn't on the coaching staff.
He was on the coaching. So it's
so
funny.
Both. Okay,
he was a throw-in to a trade involving Mo Williams, who was the Bucks, one of their best players at the time. A big 6-person trade that totally turned the Bucks on their heads. But he never played a minute for them. He was
okay.
He's the kind of guy you throw in to make salaries balance out in the NBA, where it's very tricky to do trades because you have to do that. And so he retired or was finished immediately. But he immediately joined their coaching staff under Scott Skiles for 2 years. And then he moved around through the rest of the league, moving up the kind of the chain. Ended up with Nick Nurse in Toronto, where in 2019 they beat the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals in Giannis's really big first push for what I think could have been a championship under different circumstances. And they really shut him down. So there's some familiarity here, both with having him been a Buck before and with him sort of coming up with the way to stop Giannis the first time that it really happened. His signature is more of an aggressive defense. Budenholzer plays kind of a defense where you play the percentages, you drop back when guys have bad shots, you don't challenge a lot. And the Bucks got eaten up on pick and roll plays in the playoffs this year, kind of because of that. Griffin's defense is much more aggressive, and especially on those pick and roll plays where the Bucks do get kind of destroyed. The tricky part for him is going to be that the Bucks are an older team, not as quick a team. Like, Brook Lopez is still an important person on the team. Chris Middleton's getting old, and he's used to having more younger, more athletic sort of slashers to play that defense. It'll be interesting to see if he can adapt it. I think that'll be the biggest challenge. And offensively, they just need to find something else, because the Giannis ball, it works, most of the time. But if you throw up a wall in front of him and make him just crash into people, he gets hurt, he gets beat up. And you need something else. You need better three-point shooting, and so they need another look there, because what they were running wasn't working.
Or he gets charges, right? Because it's you're like, that's the whole thing of just watching these guys on the defense. Like, all you have to do is like be in place for a split second, throw yourself in front of someone who's charging, and then you get the call. It's like, some people are getting hurt.
They really need to change that rule. There is a movement. There's a movement to change that rule. The really big dangerous thing that happens is a help defender charge. Like, if the guy that is guarding Giannis, like who's directly in front of him, can establish position and Giannis runs into him, that should probably be a foul. Where it's dangerous is when a guy who's not guarding Giannis runs over at the last second, steps right in front of him, and sets his feet where Giannis couldn't have avoided him. Like, he's already there's a movement to outlaw that by especially analysts and commentators in the NBA. It's gotten a lot of stars hurt. The playoffs actually were lousy with stars getting hurt, and there's no reason for it. It's not the intent of the rule. And they should take that out, and hopefully they will. That would open up a lot of things for him, and make him more formidable than he already is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, any initial thoughts on, now that the Heat is in the finals, on how we fare, that maybe this was just their year?
I think you have to conclude that. Like the
Yeah.
Heat have made an incredible run, and I think they're sort of the paragon of the regular season not mattering. They're a
Yeah.
weird team in that, well, their best player is Jimmy Butler, Marquette's own, and Jimmy Butler is just frankly kind of a weird guy. But when he puts his mind to it, he is one of the best players in the league. And
What do you mean that he's a weird guy?
he is he's been a
Like his personality is
his
just
personality
quirky?
is a little quirky and a little grating by all accounts. He's not a guy you would hire just for clubhouse chemistry. But when you get to the playoffs, when the stakes go up and Jimmy Butler like concentrates and turns into an actual good team player and tries hard every night, he makes his team one of the best teams in the league, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
They're well put together. Aside from him, and they people say they got hot, but a lot of it I think is just they're not a good regular season team because they're a little bit of a poor chemistry mix. But when you have to crank it up, he's one of the best you can have.
Yeah. That's so because it really feels like he refuses when he was playing against us and even in these other series, like he just refuses to lose.
Yeah, he does, and he's got a little Jordan in him. Like he takes everything personally. So
Yeah.
it was a bad first round matchup to get. Nobody thought the Heat almost lost too. They were almost out before the playoffs even started.
I know.
Just by like inches. But once you get them in there and they get motivation, they're brutal. So. That Bucks loss looked horrible at first. It clearly doesn't anymore. They ran into
Yeah.
a little bit of a buzzsaw, and that happens sometimes.
All right. Well, moving over to the Brewers. Are we still number one, even with how many injuries we have?
Hanging on by a hair at the moment.
Jeez,
Yeah.
okay.
Although they're currently losing to the Blue Jays, so we'll see how the day ends. But they went in up by one game, but it just in a world of hurt. The Brewers are among the most beat up teams in baseball, and they're in the bottom quarter of the league in runs scored, in offense, in actually starting pitching. The only thing they're really elite at is defense, and it's kept them afloat. But they need to find a way to score more runs because this is not going well. And they're still in the middle of a tough part of the schedule. Like they had Houston and Tampa Bay last week or 2 weeks ago, and they're kind of in their American League East portion of the schedule right now, which is by far the best division in baseball. Has the Rays, but also the Yankees. They're playing the Blue Jays right now, and they play the Orioles shortly. All of those teams are excellent. All of those teams would win other divisions going away, and so they need to get through this. But they do need to get some help back. They probably will soon, but it is ugly baseball right now. So they are going to get Willy Adames back soon, who in true Brewer fashion, was sitting on the edge of the dugout, and just took a liner directly in the head. Had to go into the concussion protocol, and just a freak accident. The Brewers seem to have more of those than most teams.
Than others.
Yeah, and they should
Still
also
curse.
They kind of are. Like I can rattle off just a zillion sneeze injuries, Matt Wise salad tongues, Jonathan Lucroy having luggage dropped on his foot. It happens all the time with them.
Who was it? Was it 2 years ago or was it last year with the pitcher who punched the wall when he was drunk?
Devin Williams punching the
Yes.
wall the day before the playoffs started.
What are you doing?
Yeah, it happens with them a lot. So fortunately, this is a short-term one. He'll be back, and they're also supposed to get Luis Urias back soon as well, who's been out the entire season, and who they really need because they have lost almost, I think, actually, literally every game to left-handed pitching this year. He's one of their only.
Wow.
They've probably won a couple, but they're pathetic against left-handed pitching. Luis Urias is one of their only good right-handed specialists against left-handed pitching, so they really need to get him back.
Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully that happens. They have the Reds coming up after the Blue Jays series, and they're ahead of the Reds currently. The one thing to watch for there is the Reds have one of the three or so best prospects in baseball. His name is Ellie De La Cruz. He's expected to be called up kind of any minute. People have been speculating he'll be up any minute, and I won't be surprised if he gets promoted for the Brewers specifically.
Okay.
He will instantly be one of the best players in baseball. And after that, they have the Orioles, who are another juggernaut AL East team. Then they get a break though, because then they get the Oakland Athletics, who are not just the worst team in baseball, but challenging to be the worst team in the history of baseball, which is very, very difficult.
How is that measured?
So they're on pace right now for 134 losses in a 162 game season. They've won 12 games. Yes. They are on pace to be the worst team since the 1899 Cleveland Spiders.
A team that we didn't even know existed at one point. At least I didn't.
The Cleveland Spiders.
You never want to be challenging for any record set before 1900, and that's where they are. So the Brewers have played the Royals, I think, earlier this year. They're the second worst team in baseball. They have been outscored on the season by 70 runs. The A's on the season have been outscored by 200 runs. So the average A's game, the average one, they lose by 3.5 runs. And there's some wins baked in there. They're truly atrocious. They're in the process of moving to Las Vegas. Nobody cares about them. They have no incentive to get better. And their pitching staff in particular is one of the worst staffs that's ever been assembled in the history of baseball. They're
killing me.
And by the way,
just so bad. He's not even doing it as a roast to make fun of him. He's like, these are just facts. I'm just spitting facts at you of how bad the A's actually are.
And just to make it even worse, the 1899 Cleveland Spiders had a good excuse because they were owned by the same ownership that owned the St. Louis Cardinals. And the Cardinals would just take all of their players away from them. In fact, that season, they had basically taken all of the Spiders' good players and placed them on the Cardinals. You're not allowed to own two franchises anymore for that reason. But nobody's stealing the A's players. They come by this honestly. So they should get a break there. They have to sweep that series, but that is the worst team you'll ever see. So enjoy it.
So then finally, to kind of go back to basketball, but did you hear about how much these mascots are making?
Oh, I actually did not.
So the Denver's Lion mascot makes $625,000 a year.
Seriously?
To be the mascot for the Denver Nuggets.
Okay.
We're doing the wrong work, Paul.
We are. I have to read up on this because that's interesting to contrast with what cheerleaders tend to make, which is diddly squat.
Or women basketball players. We got to go. We're coming up against a break. I'll send you the article, though. Paul Noonan, thank you so much for spending time with us. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kristen.
Bye.
Keep that old horse before the car. Who minds them pop bottles flying? The hisses and boos.
The team has been consistent.
Yeah, we always lose, but we're laughing cause we've got heart.
Weather brought to you by FreshFin, bringing you a fresh and healthy fast casual experience. Seafood, chicken, pork, or tofu. The bowl options at FreshFin are endless. Check them out at the corners of Brookfield, Bayshore Mall, East Side, and 3rd Ward, or online at freshfin.com. Direct from the Dairy State, it's Sharp Cheddar Weekends, a 3-hour block of Wisconsin-produced radio, Saturdays and Sundays from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m., featuring Raised in Wisco with Joel Clayfish and Danielle Fairman, The Cripes Cast with Charlie Behrens, and Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger, Gilbert Brown. You can enjoy it by the slice or enjoy the whole darn thing. Sharp Cheddar Weekends is radio so fresh, it squeaks. Listen in on the Civic Media Station or on the app. As Goes Wisconsin with Kristen Bride.
The issue with Milwaukee schools, just not enough high-quality schools.
Weekdays 11 to 2.
You can talk about everything else. You can talk about the funding. You can talk about school choice and for it or against it. But there's not enough Hope Christian schools. There's not enough St. Marcus schools. There's not enough Kings. There's not enough Reagans. And until we fix that, Milwaukee Public Schools really isn't going to change.
As Goes Wisconsin with host Kristen Bride on Civic Media and the Civic Media app.
Fear you may be missing out? We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app. Enjoy listening live or catch up by finding the podcast at civicmedia.us or wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. A blend of clouds and sun this afternoon with highs around 88. Winds out of the southeast 5 to 10 miles an hour. Mainly clear skies tonight, lows around 62. High temperatures reach up to 89. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies. Partly cloudy skies Saturday with a high of 87. 81 Sunday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently,
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair. And I couldn't find this quick enough to share with Paul, but I saw this the other day and I thought it was so genius. It's not something I could ever do,
Okay.
but just a lesson to men. If we have single men who are listening to the show, or you have friends who are single men, tell them to never challenge when they're like talking to a new girl that they may have interest in. It's not flirting to combat her when she says that she's a sports fan to like make her prove it. So this is on the Gist USA, which is a sports media outlet, specifically talks like directed for women.
Okay.
So it's not that they just do women's sports, but their audience that they're trying to reach is women sports
Fans.
Okay. So it's a screenshot of a text thread, and the guy, so the white and the blue. So the blue is the woman, because it's obviously she screenshotted this conversation that I'm sure ended after this exchange.
Oh, goody.
So the guy says to her, "You say you like baseball. I've never met a girl who likes baseball." And she wrote back, asterisk, love, as in, I love baseball. And he proceeds to say, okay, then name the NL East teams in the next 10 seconds, no Googling, ready, go. First and foremost, don't do that. When someone says that they like something, don't challenge them to prove how much they like something. But this is this woman's response. It was nice to have Mets, you, and it was Braves of you to ask this question, but it's somewhat insulting. I could Phillies, you in on the answer, but I'll have to pass. It seems to be a Nationals problem with men trying to expose. I don't even know what that one is.
The Expos.
Yeah, the Expos. Bonus, girls for not being, quote, real sports fans instead of taking our word for it. But don't worry, you know what they say. There's other Marlins in the sea.
Nicely done. Well done. Well, and
I would never do that. Like, I feel like as much as I like football and basketball stuff, if you asked me to like list off the conference within 10 seconds and blah, 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 I couldn't do that. I know most of them, but like, don't challenge people like that. So the fact that that's what she could do it, and not only could she do it, but she could also put it in like 3 complete sentences, and then she probably deleted his number.
Yeah,
good for her.
Yeah, yes, definitely. And I don't think it's about her having to prove it to him. He wants to prove that he knows more than she does. That's what that was all about.
But I'm going to be a little crude here, and I don't care. That's not going to get you laid, man. Like, it's just not.
Seems unlikely. You're just making it more difficult for yourself.
Like, that's not a turn on for you to make me feel dumb. I mean, maybe it is for some girls. I don't want, again, don't yuck other people's yum. But I'm going to assume that for most people, being made to feel stupid isn't going to make you more attractive.
No, that's not a good idea.
Anyways, I thought that I wanted to share that with Paul because I thought he would find it impressive. Because I'm sure Paul could do it within 10 seconds.
I'm sure he could. But then again, as a non-big sports fan, anyone who could list a game from 1976 and tell me what the weather was in a matchup between those two teams, I don't want to date you because you got way too much time on your hands.
But you know who the Expos were? I don't even know who the Expos. What team is that?
Philadelphia?
No, isn't that the Phillies?
No, yeah, it's the Philadelphia Phillies.
I don't know.
Now we gotta look.
Now, well, you knew it off the top of your head. I was like, what do you know about that? Anyways, we'll look that up. The Montreal Expos.
Montreal, yes.
There you go. All right. Well, now I know. Learn something new every day. So I just wanted to give another shout out to Wisconsin's own. Did you figure out how to pronounce his last name?
We're just calling him Aiden.
Aiden W.
Aiden W.
He goes to Blessed Sacrament in Madison. He's a 7th grader. This was his 2nd time going to the Scripps Spelling Bee.
He did really well.
He tied for 21st in the semifinals last night, so he'll not be in the finals tonight. But holy moly, these words are just unreal that they have to spell.
Right? I mean, this first word, tendidium, I think that's how it's pronounced. It's spelled CTENIDIUM.
Meaning a structure consisting of a row of spines resembling the teeth of a comb on the head of a thorax, or both, or certain fleas.
And we all can just throw that around. Work that into a conversation this week.
Oh man. And so, but I just wanted to read this quote because WPR did a little bit of a write-up on him. That what his principal had to say about Aiden. He is probably the most humble kid that I know.
Aw.
Super bright, super friendly, would give you the shirt off his back. He was very driven. He's very well-rounded. He's not just a speller. He's great at math, loves playing the oboe, and he plays tennis.
That's very cool.
It's very cool. So that's our Wisconsin in the Wild for this week.
Our little shout out to Aiden W.
Yeah. So how many people do make it to the finals? I always feel like that's.
Well, they started out with 231 on Tuesday morning.
And there's no age brackets, right? Because the last time Aiden went, he was in 3rd grade and now he's in
Wow.
7th.
Wow.
And so I think there's just one final winner but you can qualify. So you have like 7-year-olds going against 12-year-olds.
That's amazing.
Which feels not fair, but you never know. There's just savants out there.
Another one, Bahavurihi.
That was like one of his first ones, wasn't it?
It's a noun.
What is it?
It is a class of compound words whose meanings follow the formula having a B that is an A, where A stands for the first constituent of the compound and B for the second. I don't even know what that means.
I don't know. What did that say? Was that a full sentence? Was that a complete sentence?
Yes. It's a good thing we did not try the spelling bee, Kristen.
Well, yesterday was
not good.
It was a reminder. It was a reminder that we all are very reliant on spell check now. And
Without
you can recognize words and what they are without necessarily remembering how to spell them. All right. When we come back, it's Pride Month. It's the first day of Pride. So we got some history lessons, including the history of the Pride flag. You may learn something of what it means, where it came from. So stick around. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
This is the Shaw, WAUK.
CBS News Brief. Officials in Davenport, Iowa have revised the number of missing after a partial building collapse Sunday. They say 3 people remain unaccounted for after 2 were located. Police Chief Jeff Bladel.
Just remember, our priority is that families. Our priority is hopefully helping them get through this horrific situation that they're experiencing.
Now it's the Senate's turn after the House passed a bill to raise the debt ceiling last night. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
I hope we can move the bill quickly here in the Senate and bring it to the president's desk as soon as possible.
Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis launched his campaign for the White House with 5 stops in Iowa in 24 hours.
We have got kilter is with fiscal and economic policy.
CBS News has learned former Vice President Mike Pence and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie will also run. CBS News Brief, I'm Wendy Gillette.
You're listening to a radio station that's part of the Civic Media Network. Find more at civicmedia.us.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Natnair. Here's what you need to know. The U.S. Department of Justice is now involved in the land dispute in Vilas County between the town of Lac du Flambeau and the Lac du Flambeau Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa. The Department of Justice sued, saying the town's roads trespass on tribal land. The lawsuit seeking relief and damages for the tribe and affected landowners for the town's, quote, intentional and unauthorized use and occupancy of land that's part of the town's road system, unquote. The town says they're working with the tribal council to try and find a resolution. 5 people ranging in age from 18 to 48 have been arrested in connection with an Amber Alert issued on Wednesday for 1-year-old Kennedy Parker. Milwaukee police said a little girl was found safe. Charges will be referred to the DA's office. I'm Jane Natnair. This is Civic Media News.
Hey, Dan Kelly, you went around the state saying there had been fraud and the election should be overturned. You did that. You took 120 grand in pay from the Republican Party, not in a donation, pay. The most recent payment was in December, and we don't know if you're still being paid. And you've been endorsed by some of the biggest election deniers in the state. And you're shining me with, I don't know how I rule. I know how you'd rule. I know how you'd rule.
Matt Flynn Direct, weekday afternoons from 3 until 4 on the Civic Media Network and on the Civic Media app.
The Civic Media team would like to say congratulations. More than 200 Wisconsin businesses and nonprofits are receiving a free advertising campaign through our one-day $1 million advertising giveaway. If you missed out, our local sales team would still love to help you with your own campaign. Go to civicmedia.us and click on the sponsorship tab. Again, civicmedia.us and sponsorship. New and still growing. Advertise today with the Civic Media network of radio stations.
Radio keeps your community informed, entertained, and connected. It's what we're all about at the Civic Media Network of local radio stations.
We're having fun and moving fast to preserve hometown radio across Wisconsin. This includes a commitment to news. Now we want to invite you to join Civic Media's exclusive Facebook group, Wisconsin Breaking News. It's a place to share your community's news and chat with others from across the state about it.
Join the Facebook group Wisconsin Breaking News today. It's the perfect companion to your local Civic Media radio station.
Missed your favorite show live on air? It's easy to find what you enjoy wherever you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and Google.
My mama told me when I was young, we're all born superstars. She rolled my hair, put my lipstick on, in a glass of her boudoir. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are, she said, 'cause he made you perfect, babe. So hold your head up, girl, and you'll go far. There's nothing to say. I'm beautiful in my way.
Happy Pride! It is June 1st, the first day of Pride, and no more time than ever is it important for all of us who are gay or straight or part of the community or an ally to be very loud and proud where it's safe to do so, because things feel not great right now for that community. And so I am very excited to go to Pride in Milwaukee this weekend. It's actually it's not my first Pride. It is my first Pride in Milwaukee.
Oh, it is. Well, sure, when you got here.
Because when I got here, I mean, I moved in 2020. They did not have anyone. I mean, they had a fall one that I was out of town for in 2021. And then I was out of town for a wedding last year. So this will be my first one. So I'm heading over there tomorrow afternoon. But Pride Milwaukee kicks off today. I think today starts at 4 and goes till midnight. And then tomorrow starts at 3 and goes till midnight. And then Saturday, I think, is maybe opens even earlier, like 10 a.m. to 12. And then Saturday is also when the fireworks are.
Nice.
And then the Pride Parade, which is a different group, but still coincides with Pride at the Summerfest grounds, is on Sunday. And so that's super exciting. So I'm really excited to be part of that and to get out there and celebrate with my friends. And I wanted to spend some time, I guess, in this segment. First, if anyone has Pride plans that they'd like to share, because the way that Pride works typically is it rotates different cities. So stuff that's happening across Wisconsin won't necessarily be this weekend. It's other weekends. And so if you have plans for this month or have ways that you're planning to celebrate, we would love to hear from you. 844-967-2789. If you're planning to go this weekend, let me know. But also throughout the month, I'm excited. I got connected to the president of the Cream City Foundation, and he was like, I'd love to help you get some people on the show during the month to talk about the history,
Great.
like Wisconsin's history with LGBTQ communities, and not just in Milwaukee or not just in Madison. I remember coming across a TikTok a couple years ago of an older lesbian. So she looked like she was maybe in her 50s, and she didn't live in Wisconsin anymore, but she was talking about being somewhere near like Stevens Point in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
And like getting invited and like going to some like lesbian bar that just happened to be kind of like an underground thing that if you knew, you knew, and you went. And she's like, just like recapped this memory she had of going to this place. And I think some people ended up in the comment section figuring out it's not there anymore, but like finding it and stuff. And so like those
Kinds of stories.
stories and like the history of This Is It in Milwaukee being one of the oldest gay bars in the state, I think. And
I had some good times on that bar.
I've had some good times now. We could bring it back. Jane, if you'd like to actually go out past 8 p.m.
Well,
we can have some fun.
Okay. After the baby comes.
There you go. But I also came across this TikTok yesterday, and I thought it was just a good way as a reminder, because I think we get, God knows, Rainbow Land has wreaked havoc on what rainbows mean and what they represent and how we have to be careful about how we use them because we're indoctrinating children and blah, blah, blah. And so I thought it would just be a good like level set to play this video, because as a reminder of where this flag comes from, what it originally meant, and just the history of it. So we have it set up.
We do. Let's
Great.
take a listen.
And I don't think that's what this flag stands for anymore. This flag doesn't stand for equality for everyone. This flag stands for you're going to agree to what we say, no matter how many times we change the meaning of this.
I just thought this was a good time to remind everybody what the pride flag does stand for. In the late 70s, Harvey Milk, who was the first openly gay elected official in San Francisco, wanted a new symbol for what he called the gay community. He wanted something new that had no prior trauma attached to it. So he turned to his friend Gilbert Baker, who was a queer artist and drag performer. Gilbert Baker hand-sewed the first ever pride flag, and this premiered at the 1978 Pride Parade. Every color on Gilbert Baker's pride flag had a meaning, and it wasn't about equality for all, because that wasn't the goal at the time. It was about the things that bring the community together, the things that unify us. It was meant to be a symbol of love and kindness and care for each other within the gay community. Some of the colors have gone on to have deeper meanings, particularly red, which was used throughout the AIDS epidemic. Heartbreakingly, in December of 1978, Harvey Milk was assassinated. And because of that, there was a huge demand for the pride flag that he had commissioned. Unfortunately, at the time, hot pink material was really difficult to manufacture, but they also still wanted even numbers so it could be split for displays. And that's how we got this flag, which you still see all over the place today. Of course, since then, there's also been a couple of other iterations. This is the Philadelphia pride flag, which added a black and brown stripe, since black and brown folks have been historically underrepresented within the community. And then later on, the inclusive pride flag, which added in the trans pride colors. Where I think some of us are getting confused is this pride flag is not about having the heteronormative society treat us equally. This pride flag is about us uniting as a community and seeing similarities even in our own differences. Because honestly, no matter how badly you want it, the heteronormative society will never treat us as normal or equal. This flag is by us, for us, and nothing else.
So I wanted to point out, because it's a video, so you can't see it, but the different colors and what the different terms, like what the different association with those colors came to mean, or like people ascribed to them. So hot pink was sex, red was life, thus why she said it was
related to AIDS.
Orange was healing, yellow was the sun, green was nature, turquoise was art and magic, blue was serenity, and purple was the spirit.
Oh.
So I just thought that was a nice reminder, because I like how she says, because I think so often when we exist in the dominant, and I am, right? Like I am a white woman who is married to a man, and is, no matter how much open-mindedness and empathy I have, like ultimately there's the experiences that I just will never understand.
Sure.
And there's so much, and this can go for race, this can go for sexual orientation, or just different identities in general, that when you're in the mainstream and you're just so used to everything being about you
and for you.
And so I think the correction of what's great about that video is this was never meant to be a symbol to get heteronormative people and cis people and straight people to like appeal, like the pride flag to appeal to like accept us or like be equal with us, like have us be equal with you. Like this was about like that community and their culture and things that a lot of us outside of that likely will never understand, and like how symbols get changed over time. Um, and so, yeah, so that there's not much deeper than that, but just wanted to acknowledge that I think sometimes the reminder of this thing that will get blasted. Well, I think it was still, we'll see how many corporations are still going to do their pride thing despite all of the boycotts and the run on brands and everything that's happening right now. But like, you'll probably still see a fair amount of rainbows
Yep.
this month. And just a reminder of where it actually came from. It's not actually about just selling you stuff with rainbows on.
For some, it is. For some.
For some.
Yes.
For some. But when's the last time you did anything for Pride?
I want to say that I was a judge for a talent contest. That was a
Ooh.
that was a long time ago.
Okay,
though.
tell me that story.
I just remember no one was happy
What do you mean?
with the winner that we decided on.
Oh, what was their talent?
I think everybody was a singer.
Okay. It
Which
wasn't lip
is-
syncing. It wasn't drag queens.
No,
it was actual singing.
actual singing, and it's a completely subjective thing as far as who you think is the best singer. There's 3 judges, and you pick the one who you think did the best or you liked the most. And yeah, I just remember that no one was particularly happy about that.
Was it at This Is It?
No, this was at the On the Grounds.
Oh, okay.
This was
Okay.
on the grounds.
Okay. Great.
And then I have a vague memory of meeting Kathy Griffin.
Oh, that's fun.
Backstage. We must have introduced her when she was appearing at Pride. But that, it's 20 seconds and you're hi.
Yeah.
I love you. Have a good show.
Have a good show.
Have a good show.
But yeah, I like we kind of touched on this yesterday, but it feels like it's a weird year of backtracking. Like I remember I walked the company I worked at for in 2015 when the Supreme Court right before Pride, right before San Francisco Pride, the Supreme Court had legalized gay marriage. And the company that I worked for had a float in the Pride Parade.
Okay.
And so we got to walk. And God, was that a joyful day. My mom was visiting. So my mom got to
really?
walk in the Pride Parade too. And Dr. Mike, that was when Dr. Mike and I were living together.
Oh, wow.
And so we all walked with my coworkers and stuff like that, which was very, very fun. And it feels, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And this year certainly feels like a step back.
Maybe a couple steps back.
Maybe a couple steps back with the fact that, the ACLU has reported it's tracking 491 bills restricting LGBTQ plus rights, which, it's gender affirming care, it's drag shows, it's bathroom access, it's who can play on sports teams. And, it just feels, and then that's not even to mention the brands and the targeting of Bud Light and Target and North Face and Chick-fil-A. And it just, and it goes back to even what we were talking about the top of the hour, the top of the show, of just you're condoning othering an entire group of people. And especially in the schools, if you have rules against kids, you're setting the example for the other kids that it's okay to do that.
Without a doubt. But there are some who want that.
There are some who want that. But to end on a high note, there is data that shows that those people are not in the majority, which is great. So this is another video we got from Under the Desk News, who is wonderful. And they are, with their Happy News Thursdays, talking about a GLAAD report that came out as far as for us who are the non-LGBTQ folks, our thoughts. And we are in the majority of wanting to be open and accepting and comfortable. So let's play that.
Good morning. Good news. Just in time for the first day of Pride, GLAAD has come out with their Accelerating Acceptance 2023 report. Each year, they do extensive polling to see how non-LGBTQIA+ people are perceiving queer people. So while lately we've seen the platforming of some very terrible people with some awful takes on clothing at Target, it turns out that 70% of non-LGBTQ people think that companies should publicly support and include the LGBTQ community. I've linked to the entire report here so you can read it for yourself. It'll really cheer you up. But the part that really touched my heart was something that's going to affect mostly my shy and potentially closeted queer family. GLAAD did a study of family member comfortability. How comfortable are people with their family members being a part of the community? And they found that 75% of non-LGBTQ adults would be comfortable learning a family member is gay, lesbian, or bisexual. 68% are comfortable learning that their family member is non-binary, and 66% are comfortable learning that a family member is transgender. And we do have a little bit of work to do on getting these numbers higher. These numbers are way up from a decade ago when it was less than 50%. And this one almost made me cry because this is something that I also get concerned about when I'm out with my wife. 74% of non-LGBTQ adults are comfortable seeing a same-sex couple hold hands. We hear so much about all the awful things that people think about the queer community. Turns out the general public is even more kind and loving than we felt. Stay safe this Pride. I love you guys so much.
So we are the majority.
We are.
Might have taken a little while, and there's still work to do. But as far as don't let these crazy people intimidating and threatening retail store workers make you think that they are the majority, because they're not.
They're just the loudest.
They're just the loudest and the most annoying. All right. Well, when we come back, would you run down a hill and chase some cheese? That sounds like something we do in Wisconsin, but it's not here. It's actually on the other side of the pond. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Whether you're broke or evergreen, your black, white, beige, chola descent, you're Lebanese. You're Lebanese.
Get ready to dominate the field like never before. Get to Soccer World in Brookfield. They have a great selection of shoes, apparel, and accessories to help kick your game into high gear. Soccer World's team of soccer experts have over 38 years of experience in the retail and soccer market. From cleats to shin guards, jerseys, and coaching equipment, they'll help you stay ahead of the game. Plus, look to Soccer World for all your team business needs. Soccer World, 12615 West North Avenue in Brookfield, or online at soccerworldofbrookfield.net.
So, I have a question for all you guys out there. Why is it that I see you hauling all kinds of stuff in your trucks? Lumber, ATVs, furniture, and everything is strapped down tight, except you. I mean, come on, fellas. You're just as important as your buddy's blue plaid sofa. Buckle up.
Pickups rock. They also roll. Buckle up in your truck and arrive alive. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation.
Saturdays and Sundays at 1, don't miss Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger, featuring legendary Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. Football, life, and fun.
Earl, you've been driving a Yugo. They just gave you a brand new Ferrari with turbo boost. So enjoy it, brother.
Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger. Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. Saturdays and Sundays at 1 on the Civic Media Network and on the Civic Media app.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 88. Southeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Lows level off around 60 tonight, mainly clear. Tomorrow, high temperatures reach up to 86. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times Saturday, with a high of 87. 81 Sunday. For Civic.
I wanna put on my boogie shoes. Just wanna with you. Girl, to be with you is my favorite thing. And I can't wait till I see you again.
For hundreds of years, people have gathered in Gloucestershire, England. Did I pronounce it right?
Gloucestershire.
Yeah, now I got
That's
it.
better.
To fling themselves down a notoriously steep hill in pursuit of a hefty chunk of golden yellow cheese.
As one does.
Gloucestershire?
Gloucestershire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this before?
No, never.
How do you know how to pronounce it? Because your
Because
husband?
I'm married to an
'Cause
Englishman.
Paul knew. So it's the annual cheese roll, and it's a race dating back centuries. And it often results in broken bones.
Oh, yeah.
And concussions, as literally, and we'll put the video of this in the show notes.
You gotta watch the video.
It's literally people down a super steep hill running after a wheel of cheese, and they tumble and bounce, and it's 180 meters until, and the winner is the first person to cross the finish line with their cheese.
With the cheese. I mean, they are literally throwing themselves down this hill.
The way they bounce in their bodies, and then some of them just get back up. I'm like, aren't you hurt? How are you just the adrenaline right now, or you're just ignoring it?
There may be some
drinking
involved.
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
But the woman, I still don't understand how this actually happened. The woman who won the women's division or race was knocked unconscious. And she didn't realize she had actually won until she came to. So this was Delaney Irving, and she was crowned the winner. But the 19-year-old Canadian apparently did not actually realize she had won the competition until she regained consciousness in a medical tent.
Oh my God.
And I think she's fine. Like, she's fine. But some guy broke his foot this year. And it's a tradition that's like one of the oldest customs to have survived in Britain.
Oh,
and it's basically the site for the town says the first written evidence of it's found in a message to the town crier.
Oh, wow.
In 1826.
Wow.
But it brings people from all over the world to gather. I think both to perform, like to do it and to watch. I already know you would never do it. I don't think I would do it either. Would you go watch it?
It might be something to watch, but I don't particularly enjoy watching people get hurt.
I don't either.
And once you watch this video and you get to see the look on some of these people's faces as they're literally tumbling down this, and it looks like it's a very uneven hill.
Oh, yeah.
As well. So it's got divots and stuff in it. It looks really painful.
Because I don't think anyone gets, from the footage I've seen, I don't think anyone gets down the hill without falling.
No, it's that steep.
It's that steep, and you're also running that fast.
And you're racing.
And so, like, in watching the footage, I don't see anyone just make it down the hill.
No.
It's not like Ninja Warrior where you see someone, like, there's like that one guy who doesn't fall.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen here.
No.
It's if you're doing this, you're going to fall at some point, unless you are fine losing and being the last one because you're gingerly sidestepping down the hill.
And then they will mock you, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're like, well, why'd you even come if you're not going to compete, man?
Put your heart and soul into it, dude.
But do we have some of the interviews?
We do. Take a listen.
My name is Shai from Seattle, Washington, USA.
You're not going to tell me you come here especially for the cheese rolling?
I'm afraid so.
Are you mad or what?
Honestly, really underestimated the hill. I'm going to have to drink some liquid courage before I try to attempt it. But I got a strategy, and I've been practicing this like break, fall, roll move. I think it's going to save my shoulders, maybe my ACL. I forgot my mouthpiece and my wrist tape, but I think I'll just loosen up with some beers and see what happens.
Why do you want to do it?
Oh, I don't know. I love these sort of things, and I don't know, just because it's there. You know what? To quote Mallory, because it's there.
How do you train for this?
I didn't. There was a sneaky training session I went on last night, but I wasn't made aware of it. But I don't think you can train for it, can you? Really? It's just being an idiot.
You're just an idiot.
You're just an idiot.
You're just an idiot.
You just go for it. And so if you're interested in finding more about this cheese roll, there's a 2020 Netflix documentary called We Are the Champions.
Oh, my God.
Which is on unique, quirky, and bizarre competitions people may not know about. And in that documentary, they dubbed the cheese roll as the world's most dangerous foot race. The race has been described by British media as, quote, crazy, with one outlet describing those running down the hill in the name of cheese as Gouda control.
Oh.
And so I just found this. It's seriously, as far as like the cheese aspect of this and doing something dumb like this, I was like, I could see this happening in Wisconsin.
I'm quite shocked actually that one of our local ski hills hasn't instituted their own
I don't-
cheese roll.
I
you
also
know?
will admit, I don't know if we have hills steep enough for this.
It's a doozy. Again, you need to watch the video to be really truly appreciative of how nuts these people are. What is the grand prize? Is it a
Oh,
fabulous cash prize?
You definitely get to take home the cheese. I know
would
that.
hope so.
Let's see. Prize.
Is
I
it
don't
just
know.
the cheese?
Cheese and bragging rights? No, there has to be some kind of money involved, right? I don't know.
Well, but again, humans aren't necessarily logical creatures.
No.
So maybe it is
Thrill-seeking.
It's the thrill of the cheese and the bragging rights.
The first person across the line wins and gets to keep the cheese.
And that's it.
And I think that's it. But here's something for that documentary I mentioned. It's a series. So each episode is a different contest. So there's cheese rolling, there's chili eating, fantasy hairstyling, yo-yoing.
Oh, yo-yoing there are some amazing people.
Dog dancing, and frog jumping. It's the same thing I think about with America's Got Talent. Like, obviously, a lot of times the people come on and it's singing or dancing or like talents that you expect. But when it's like swallowing swords or some of the things, like, how'd you get good at that?
Right.
How'd you get good at that without going to the hospital multiple times?
You decided to try this.
And like the commitment to be like, yep, this is, and the peak of it is that I'm going to get on America's Got Talent or maybe get a job with Cirque du Soleil.
This is what I'm good at.
All right. Well, tomorrow's our last 3-hour show. So come back at 11 and then on Monday, come back at 10. But this has been As Goes Wisconsin. Thank you for texting. Thank you for calling. Thank you for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.